Welcome back to our podcast, and today we're going to explore a topic that affects almost everyone who owns a smartphone, which means nearly all of us. And that topic is social media and how it may be changing not only the way we communicate, but also the way we see ourselves and present our identity to the world.
Yes, and what makes this topic particularly interesting is that social media was originally created to connect people and help them share their lives. But over time, it has slowly turned into something much more complex, where identity, image, and public approval play a huge role in how people behave online.
I often wonder whether the person we show online is truly the same person we are in real life, or whether we carefully design a version of ourselves that looks more confident, more successful, or more interesting than we actually feel on an ordinary day.
That's a very important question, because when people post photos, stories, or opinions online, they usually choose the best moments rather than the most honest ones, which means the online version of life often looks much more exciting and perfect than reality.
And this selective sharing can create pressure, not only for the audience, but also for the person who is posting, because once you create a certain image, you may feel responsible for maintaining it, even when your real emotions or circumstances change.
Exactly, and that's where the problem begins, because instead of social media being a simple tool for communication, it becomes a stage where people perform, compare themselves to others, and measure their value through likes, comments, and followers.
Do you think people are aware of how much this affects their self-esteem, or has it become so normal that they don't even question it anymore?
I think many people are aware, but awareness doesn't always mean control. Because even when we know that social media shows edited versions of reality, we still feel emotional reactions when we compare our lives to what we see on our screens.
It's interesting how something virtual can have such a strong impact on real emotions, relationships, and even mental health, especially among younger generations who have grown up with social media as a central part of their daily lives.
Yes. Teenagers today don't remember a time without social platforms, which means their identity development happens partly in public digital spaces, where they receive constant feedback from others.
And when identity develops in a public environment, it can become fragile, because young people may start shaping their personality according to what gets positive reactions instead of what feels authentic to them.
That's true. And over time, this can lead to confusion between the real self and the online self, especially if someone receives attention or validation for a personality that doesn't fully reflect who they truly are.
Another aspect that concerns me is how quickly opinions spread online, and how people sometimes feel pressured to share strong views on social issues, even when they haven't had enough time to think carefully about it.
Social media often rewards extreme or emotional content because it attracts more attention, which can make calm and thoughtful discussions seem less visible or less exciting.
And when discussions become more extreme, people may start dividing into groups, following only those who agree with them and avoiding different perspectives, which can reduce empathy and understanding.
This creates what many experts call echo chambers, where people hear mostly opinions similar to their own and gradually believe that their view is the only reasonable one.
That can be dangerous, especially in societies where open dialogue and critical thinking are necessary for healthy democracy and mutual respect.
At the same time, we shouldn't ignore the positive aspects of social media, because it has allowed people to reconnect with old friends, build communities, learn new skills, and raise awareness about important global issues.
Yes, and many small businesses or independent creators have found opportunities online that would not have existed before, which shows that technology itself is not the problem, but rather how we use it.
So perhaps the real question is not whether social media is good or bad, but whether we are using it consciously or automatically, without reflecting on its impact.
I completely agree, and I think developing digital awareness is becoming as important as developing traditional social skills, because our online actions now influence our reputation, relationships, and even career opportunities.
There is also the issue of privacy, because many people share personal details without fully understanding how that information might be stored, analyzed, or used in the future.
And once something is published online, it can be very difficult to remove completely, which means that impulsive posts can have long-term consequences.
That's why some experts recommend creating a healthy distance from social media, such as limiting screen time, turning off unnecessary notifications, or even taking regular breaks to reconnect with offline life.
When people take short digital breaks, they often realize how much mental space was occupied by constant scrolling and comparison.
And during those breaks, they may rediscover hobbies, face-to-face conversations, or simply moments of silence that feel surprisingly refreshing.
I think one of the most important skills today is learning to separate self-worth from online feedback, because numbers on a screen should not define how valuable or capable someone feels.
That's a powerful point, because if people base their confidence only on digital approval, their emotional stability may depend on algorithms rather than real relationships.
Ultimately, social media is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used constructively or destructively depending on intention, awareness, and balance.
Perhaps the goal is not to escape from technology, but to use it in a way that supports real identity instead of replacing it.
And maybe the most honest question we can ask ourselves is whether the person we are online feels comfortable and consistent with the person we are offline.
If the answer is yes, then social media may be simply an extension of our personality. But if the answer is no, then it may be time to reflect and adjust how we present ourselves.
Thank you for joining us for this deeper conversation, and we hope it encourages you to think critically about your own digital habits.
Take care of your real identity, protect your mental space, and remember that your value goes far beyond any online profile.